Good evening from the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. Dan Lucero here, Spencer Dupuis there. This is a Kansas State instant reaction on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube page. Also, 580 Sports Talk on Twitter, WIBW News on Facebook. Kansas State's Big 12 tournament run is over. They are eliminated in the quarterfinals, 76-57, the final score. Iowa State victorious tonight over the Wildcats, a game that saw K-State get within one early in the second half, but the game got away from them, and as so often has been the case this season, turnovers proving to be the undoing of the Wildcats. K-State turns the ball over 20 times in this game, 11 of those turnovers coming in the second half. Iowa State scores 23 off of those turnovers. Iowa State makes it so hard for you to score, and they make it really hard on K-State because they don't, Iowa State, and this makes sense if you watch K-State play, they don't really respect K-State's big men as offensive threats. So a lot of times on the high screens at K-State's big men set, Iowa State's just hard hedging and trapping those small guards out on the perimeter, and it just puts a stick in the bicycle spoke of the Kansas State offense. Makes it really, really hard for them to get into half-court sets, and it creates turnovers, 20 of them, as it turned out tonight. That was really the story of this game for me, Spencer, is the turnovers were such a big part of why Kansas State couldn't find their way through and couldn't complete that comeback, because once they did get close and it felt like they had a little bit of life, the turnover bug really bit.
Yeah, it did really bite them, and there was a point there in the second half where it just seemed like there was an opening. Just like we talked about last night in the Kansas game, there was an opening. Well, guess what? They didn't fill that opening as when they didn't fill that opening, there was 5 turnovers in the matter of 4.5 minutes. So of those 20 turnovers, 5 of them came, I think it ended up going up to 6 and 5.5. They all came ballooning right there. And you showed me one of those the stats on that, and it was like from this mark to this mark, all they did was turn it over every single offensive possession.
Yeah, it was. I'm going to go find the number because I did tweet it from the 580 Sports Talk account. K-State got it to within one. It was 40-39. And then at 15.5 minutes, they turned it over. Kaluma, bad pass. Next possession, travel by Tyler Perry. 13.5 minutes to go. Kaluma loses the ball. Next possession, Gasson, bad pass. Minute later, Colbert throws it away. Minute after that, turnover by Kaluma. So that's 6 turnovers in less than 5 minutes. And that was really a stretch where the game was decided as it allowed Iowa State to push their lead back out. By the time that was all said and done, the lead got to a dozen, actually got as big as 13 there in that stretch for Iowa State. And K-State just couldn't find a way back from that. We have talked all year, K-State's best players have to play really well for K-State to win games. Tyler Perry was pretty good, I thought, scoring-wise tonight. 4 of 7 from the field, made 3 threes, 7 of 8 from the line, so 18 points on the night for Perry, but he did turn it over 4 times and had just 2 assists. Cam Carter, 2 of 10 from the field. Only made 2 shots. They were both threes. They were both in the second half. Arthur Kaluma, I thought, was going to get rolling when the Wildcats looked like they might make a comeback. They were down 7 at the half. Kaluma was a really big part of them making the run, and I thought maybe he'd have a big second half, but he really petered out after that, 13 points, and he also had 4 turnovers. Everybody who played for Kansas State, with the exception of R.J. Jones, who played less than 8 minutes, and Taymont Lindsay, who played 41 seconds, everybody else turned it over at least once for Kansas State. And that's just not a way you win a basketball game. K-State found that out last night. When they cut the turnovers against Texas, that allowed them to make the second half comeback. Tonight, they did not cut the turnovers, and the end result was they get blown off the map in the second half. Iowa State outscoring them 42-30. Iowa State was 12 of 23 from the floor in the second half. They didn't shoot it great. They shot it terribly from behind the arc. They were 1 of 14 from 3, but they made 81% of their free throws. They got a lot of easier baskets. And it's just a thing that has stood out to me throughout this entire season for Kansas State, how hard they make it look to score at times. And it's especially hard when you're throwing the ball to the other team, which they did, again, a bunch in this game. Iowa State, on the other hand, really patient offensively. They got a lot of really good looks. There were some plays, I don't know where K-State's big men were going defensively, and Iowa State's big men, Trey King, Robert Jones, who had 18 points a game high, those two in particular, but Hassan Ward had some moments too. Those three comprehensively outplayed Kansas State's bigs in this game.
Yeah, they really did. And before I get in talking about that, the crazy thing that I saw in the first half, the only guy to hit a jump shot, that doesn't include layups, for K-State was Tyler Perry. You can't have that in a game you need to win in order to, as most prognosticators have said, you need to win this game in order to get to the next game, which you need to win to get to the Big 12 championship in order to really have a shot to get in to the NCAA tournament. With the big men, you talk about there, it just seemed like, your big men were not there. Like David Gasson, a game in which he needed to be good, he went 0 for 4 from the field. I mean, he had no points in this one. Colbert, again, scoreless to shotless in this game from the field. You can't do that in a game you need to win. Data Ames, only 5 points, 2 of 7. Cam Carter, 2 of 10. I mean, the only respectable shooter in this one, really, I guess Arthur Kaluma and Tyler Perry were the only 2 respectable shooters of the entire team and I guess you add in Will McNair as well off the bench, who's played solid in the minutes he's taken off the bench. But you need Data Ames, you need Cam Carter to really come to life in order to get wins like this, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, Data Ames didn't really give K-State much. Them probably as number 2, maybe a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, and give them that's rough. 8 of 24 on layups is really, really rough. And the apologies, we had a little audio issue there, but 8 of 24 on layups for Kansas State. 8 of 24 at the rim. That not acceptable. And again, it's the bigs we talked about. They struggled all year long. They haven't been particularly great offensively, and Iowa State knew that. And Iowa State defended K-State like, it doesn't matter if you screen with the bigs. We don't think the bigs are going to hurt us. And tonight, that's pretty much what happened. They didn't hurt Iowa State. Nothing around the rim really hurt Iowa State as Kansas State. So if you do the math, they were 10 of 23 from outside the paint, basically. 10 of 23 from outside the paint, 8 of 24. They shot better non-layups than they did layups. And you don't win a lot of basketball games if that ends up being the case. So K-State is done at 19 and 14. Joe Lunardi, who is the most prominent of the bracketologists, given his placement on ESPN, said going into today that Kansas State needed to win today's game, and then they needed to go win another one against the winner of Baylor and Cincinnati that's about to happen here at the T-Mobile Center. I do not think Kansas State is a tournament team. I do not think that while, yes, K-State's got, the quad 1 wins because they play in a conference that gives you an opportunity for a quad 1 win every single night. I know they have the quad 1 wins. I know they tried to schedule tough. It's not their fault that USC and Miami ended up being duds. Those look like those are going to be quality losses at the very least for K-State. When they happened early on in the season, they ended up not being that. I know they tried to schedule difficult, and that did really work out for them. But end of the day, this is not a tournament team for me. And in 19 and 14, their losses have all kind of felt the same. They turn the ball over a lot. They're not a great shooting team. They're not a great finishing team. And I don't think that at the end of the day, this is an NCAA tournament team. And I think Selection Sunday is going to be a hard one for Jerome Tang and this Wildcat team.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you lose this one in a heartbreaker, maybe you have a reasoning to say you're a tournament team, but you lose this one by nearly 20 points. and you don't get the effort that you need. Really, the only effort from Kaluma and Perry in this one. I just don't think that that's enough to put you in the tournament. And like I said, if it was a heartbreaker, if it was a 6 or less point game and you lose that, I think maybe you have an argument, but you can't go lose by 19 when you're on the bubble watch of being on the bubble. Like, you're not even on the bubble, really. Like, you're on bubble watch. So you got to win the game or respectfully lose the game, and they didn't respectfully lose this game.
So Kansas State at 19-14, they will hold their breath until Selection Sunday. Both Spencer and I think it's pretty unlikely that K-State will get the call and get a chance to play on the NCAA tournament. I don't know if they should take an NIT bid. I mean, I guess it depends on how K-State views the NIT and if they would want to use that as a chance to maybe get some of their younger players at least one more game of experience or at least one more week of practice. Jerome Tang hasn't yet spoken to the media as we're recording this, so he may have more to say about that a little bit later on. But I won't speculate. The big tournament is what everybody wants. That's what Kansas State will hope for. Our personal opinion is that they're going to fall a little bit short of that. But that's going to do it for us here at the T-Mobile Center. Baylor and Cincinnati tip off in about 15 minutes or so, the final quarterfinal on this Thursday. If you missed the action earlier today, Houston and Texas Tech were winners. Iowa State winning means it's been all chalk so far. Something to notice, number 3 Baylor takes on the 11 seed Cincinnati Bearcats. But that's it for us. We'll be back to break down the entire day and much, much more on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk from 2 to 6. We will rejoin Brendan Dworzinski in the studio. We will go back and hang out with him after we've been hanging out up here and drinking free drinks and eating free food. High atop the T-Mobile Center. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This is our K-State Instant Reaction on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube page, Twitter feed, and WIBW News on Facebook. Have a great rest of your night.